Now, what you'll have to do is you'll have to dip into those positions. You'll have to figure out, how you're going to accommodate that with your right and left hand to play the melody plus your filler stuff. But I would just concentrate on just playing just the melody, like give me a ticket for an airplane. And that's just E and G. Right now, the chord, that's E minor. Give me a ticket for an airplane. Now C comes up in the rhythm, but of course we're just playing the melody.
Right.
So, you can try to play the melody out of the C position if you want to. That's where your filler would come from. If you went over to like the fourth string and included that C note, but the melody is really, give me a ticket for an airplane. You play that E note at 9 on the third, that's in your E chord, your C chord. So the melody note is sitting inside the chord, which happens a lot. A lot of times the chords of the song actually contain melody. Now it goes to D in the rhythm, right? Da 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 da, then A. So when you play the D position, one of your scale notes for E minor is actually sitting in there. So you got for G, give me a ticket for an air. But then when you say plane, you'd have an E note, but it would be a C chord around it. And then you'd have an F sharp note, and that's contained in your D position. So if you made a bar chord at 7, that second string, and then go up to G, 1 fret higher, and then go to A, an A chord. Now for A, you'd have to leave the entire scale because this is an A major. So, and the melody note would be an E note though. So even though it's an A chord, I would be playing probably either go up to the 10th fret and play the second string in that A position, which is a D shape, or go down to your A, which is an F shape, and you'd play an E note at 5 on the second string. But either way, it's an E note that's a melody. So the weird thing is, even though there's no A major chord in this progression, it's a chord from another key.
Right.
The melody note that you play there is E, which is in an E minor scale, so it relates to it that way. So that way you can have the melody sitting in your chords. And this is a lot of what a lot of style players, like minstrel players, 3-finger players, they'll actually use the chords. They call it chord soloing. They'll have the chords on their finger and they'll try to play the chord itself. But they'll be picking out the melody while they play their own rhythm inside the chord. So it's pretty useful. Chords give you a lot more than people think they do. They give you the melody too. All right, now you got this next line. That's la da 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 da, and that would be B B B B A G.
Yeah.
La 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 la, and then C comes up. And that would be the same line again, played over C. My baby, baby. That would be F sharp and B, which are in your scale. Baby, but it's over the B major chord. Baby, she wrote me a letter. Now, if you want to take what we talked about earlier, a little artistic liberty. Baby, she wrote me. You could put that D sharp note in there, which is not in the E minor scale, but it's part of that B chord. Baby, she wrote me a letter. So there's your minor section melody sitting right in the chord shapes, and it's sitting in there for the most part, except for the E choice when you go to the A chord. But the easiest way to do that would be to play your D-shaped A.
Yeah.
This one, because the index finger would be holding the third string at 9 there. So there's your A. if you do the F shape, A down here at 5 and 7, the E note will move all the way back to the second string, which I mean works too, as long as you're playing the melody.
Right.
So, but 90% of the melody for that tune for the minor parts is sitting there. Now let's go to the major part. Well, she wrote me a letter, said she couldn't live without me no more. Every one of those is now G scale notes, which we know G scale and E minor is the same scale, basically starting on a different note. So you're still in that same pattern. Well, so it'd be G centered now instead of E centered. Well, she wrote me a letter, said she. There's your C, where's where the C chord comes in. Where the C comes in. There's the C note there. There's your D. Well, she wrote me a letter, said she couldn't live without me no more. So the melody is following the stacking of the chords exactly. When you play that A note, you'd be rhythmically in the D. So you got a G chord, and the melody note goes to an A over the D. And when you go to C, you have the first string as a melody, back to G, and that's the first string in, to D. And then here comes your B. B major chord, and the B note on the first string is your melody. So even though it shifted to major chords, you just start on G instead of E, and it's the this is actually a harder process for most people. I've had guys like bluegrass players are really bad for this. They'll learn a bunch of rolls and licks, you know, and I'll say, and I can't tell what they're playing because they're not playing the melody up front. They're just playing a bunch of rolls or licks.
Right.
And I'll say, oh, wait a minute, let's just play the melody. And they're like, that's what I'm doing. I'm like, no, just play the melody. I'll go. And that, you know, they can't do that to save their life. I'm like,
yeah,
that's wrong.
That's I know exactly what you mean, and that's what I want to work past, because then, you know, every song is the same. You know, you just
it's just
you play a C and then you play a G again.
And it happens to other players too. I've heard clawhammer players that do that, where they've got a great clawhammer thing. They do them a lot of clawhammer, and they got all these notes going by, but I can't tell what they're playing. You know, it's like, where's the melody and all that? And they're like, oh, it's in there somewhere. I'm like, yeah, but let's play it so we can hear it. And this is what scales are great for. It trains your ear to, you know, hear those intervals. Eventually, if you play this E minor scale long enough, your brain will just start going, oh, there's the note, and oh, there it is, and it'll piece it together. And you can stay exactly in that pattern. You don't have to play any chords at all.
Yeah, it takes me a while to find the melody notes, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and you'll have to, you know, use your clawhammer technique to make them come out. And if you put a little chord stuff in there, especially up the neck, it helps, I think. You can actually get, you know, it brings everything together a little better to put the chords in. Because I'm a horrible clawhammer player, but you get the gist. this case is sitting mostly when you go to the major chord part of the song is
Yep.
all sitting on the first and second string pretty much.
Okay.
So that lends itself pretty well to playing all that stuff down on the first string. I just like to include chords for me just so I can hear. I like to have the harmony behind it, plus it sounds good, to do that. Now you can also take this and move it to other places. Let's move that E minor scale to, I don't know, let's go to the 12th fret. All right. Now the E minor scale, again, we don't have to start on E, but we've got an E here. If you start at the 4th string at 14, but let's go back one. Let's go to D. Let's start at 4th string at 12. There's a D note.
Okay.
Let's start a little bit out of order. And we're going to play just around this bar chord. So we got, there's E, D, E. All right, now we need F sharp. That would be the 3rd string at 11 because we want to stay as close to this bar chord as we can. All right, of course, G is going to be 12 on that string. Now A would be 2 frets higher on that.
Are you using your index for both F sharp and G?
I'm using index ring actually for the first 2 notes, and then index, middle, ring, or index, middle, pinky for those 3. I like to use multiple fingers. If I'm going to play like 3 or 4 notes on the same string, I like to use as many fingers as I can. I use my pinky a lot more than probably the average person because it's natural. It's the farthest away from your index, so you can make these big leaps. It's just weak for most people because they don't use it much. Now you've got, there's the A note, the 3rd string at 14 is your A. There's B. And then C would be 1 fret higher on the 2nd. And then D would be the 1st string. And then E would be 1st string. So there's your E minor scale starting on a D note. If you stop it on the E, your brain can kind of like go, oh, that's an E minor scale. It'll detect it. Sometimes if you start out of order, it takes you a while for your ear to, because this could be a G scale if you started on a G note and ended on a G note. Just depends on how you resolve it, All right, now let's try to find the melody for the song because we already sketched it out here. Let's see if we can find it here. It's going to be the same notes. So that, in case it's going to be the 4th string, it's going to be your starting note if you play it in that same octave. Or we could go higher. But when you go to the 1st string, here's something you'll catch. Once you play the 1st string, that's as high as you can go on the fingerboard, unless you want to play the 5th, which is the same thing. You'll have to go up. You're stuck on the 1st string if the melody goes higher than that. So I like to start over here up the neck. That way I got more frets, more strings to work with. So I'm going to start on the 4th string. So there's your E and your G, just like we had, same notes. All right, now what chords are associated with that? Give me a ticket for an airplane. So there should be a C position lurking nearby. Actually, those 2 notes that you're holding in that scale position are the 2 notes you'd play in a C chord in the D shape right there. So there's your juxtaposition between chords and scales again. Anytime you're playing a scale, you'll have the associated chords built into the scale because that's what the chords are. So I can actually go, I can play a C chord right there as I play the melody. All right, now we know it goes to D. And we know it's a F sharp note and a G, F sharp and a G. So where's the D chord lurking nearby? And where's the F sharp note? Well, the F sharp note is the 3rd string at 11. That's also one of those in your D chord, F shape right there. And then the G you need da, 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 is right above it, so you can just take a finger. Now you need an A. Well, the A chord is sitting right behind that D, and it would be an E note. We know the E note's the melody right there. All right, now I can go back to my bar chord. And the next line is I'm a go, na 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 na, and that's going to be your B, A, G, and that would be la da 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 da. I'm a coming home. We know it's the same line over E minor and C. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Now you got a B. And we
Can we
know
back up
the
for
note
one
for
second?
the. Okay, go ahead.
When you said it's so it's this lick part.
Yeah,
You said it's the
that's
same.
over E minor. Yeah, that would
Right.
be your E minor. Lonely days are gone.
Now would you switch to a C chord but still play the same notes?
Yeah, yeah. You play a C position, which we know is that D shape, and go. Just play it
So
inside of the C chord. If you wanted to add harmony to it.
how would you get the B note there if you're in the C?
I would just not. I would drop my root note. I'd drop the second string at 13. I'd drop it out. Take my middle finger off of that chord and go, and then put it back.
Wait, so
So I
you
so I
would
play the
move your,
melody. In other words, I play the melody first, and then on the I'm a coming home on the word home, I
so
would put that note back in there.
so you'd move your index finger to the second string in order to get the B, and then when you move off of it, you'd go back to the
Yeah, I would probably have actually I would the way I play I would have my index finger barring 1, 2, and 3. So it's almost like I'm playing out of that bar position
Okay,
and superimposing a C over it.
I understand.
Now make your C, and there's your harmony. I'm a coming home. All right, now you got my baby. That's where you have my baby, my baby. This is
Yeah,
where you go to a B chord. B is right behind C.
yeah.
So all I gotta do is go G, F sharp, and here's the weird one. Here's your D sharp. Fourth string at 13 is your weird
Wait,
note. My baby.
okay.
Right, so there's your melody. My baby. She wrote me a letter. My baby, she wrote me a letter. And then you're back in the E minor scale. Because when you go to the fourth string at 14, you're back to the E minor scale.
Can you walk me
So I'm
through what
playing.
you're doing right there again? Because
So I'm
I was trying to do it instead of watching, so
Yeah, I got the 13th. I mean the 12th fret of the third string. My baby. That's 12, 11, and then my baby. The word
yeah.
baby would be that E flat, right? And that's in your
Hmm.
B chord. My baby, she wrote me a letter. So you just go back up, reverse what you just
I got you.
there, and then when letter, second syllable, it puts you back in E minor. So, so if you
Yeah.
think
Okay.
about it, you're only leaving the E minor scale one time for that D sharp note. Other than that, I mean, there's an A chord in there, which is kind of foreign to the key of E minor, but the melody note over the A is an E note. The
So
only note in this whole melody that doesn't obey that is that E flat note. So here's the melody. There's your E for the A.
Right.
So pretty much sitting right there.
And so if I follow that finger pattern for up here like you showed me, I'll be able, if I I'll practice that and get a little more comfortable.
Yeah, you'll be able to find that, and you can do this all over the neck. This would be a good exercise for you to do. Go to different locations, find, like, use a chord, use an E minor chord. You could go down here, you could go in the first position, you could go up the neck, you could go you got about 5 or 6 E minor positions on the neck.
Okay.
And do the same process, because it's going to be the same notes. Once you get above a certain fret position, you'll be in another octave. It'll be higher. You'll be finding the same notes. Once you get on the first string, though, remember, if there's a note higher, you're on the first string, you got to keep going up. But you'll still be playing an E minor scale. Yeah.
You can only go up to like 17 or 16.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, for you there, yeah, you won't be able to play you won't be able to play that, but you'll be able to play every one except one. You'll be missing one E minor scale completion up there. And once you do that, then you can say, okay, now I need to jazz that up. I got the melody, your chords, or where you're going to get your filler. And then what you got to do is pick out the melody note and then give you a little chord action with it. And you can build some pretty good sounding solos based on your knowledge of the scale. Now go to the major part. And think about the chords again. You're in new positions here, the new conglomeration of shapes. But you got my wrote, she wrote. That's in the bar G, because now it goes major, right?
Are you up on the 12th fret?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still at the 12th fret, because now the song goes all major, right? Well, she wrote me a letter, said she couldn't live without me no more. And that's where your D comes in. So that's the G, D, C, G, back to D. That's that section. So if you want to put filler around it, but I'm just going to play the melody. Same line again. Anyway, and that goes to B. You've got a B note in the melody there. Anyway, which is in the E minor scale, so there's no oddball E flat note. There's just a B. So there's your major section. Well, she wrote me a letter, said she couldn't live without me no more. There's your D chord. G, da 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 da, C chord, G chord, D, B chord. And back to the minor.
What B chord are you doing there? You're just moving the
move the C back 1 fret. That's the same way we used earlier when we played the minor section of the song. But in this case, the melody note in this part of the song is a B. It's the second. But in the earlier version, when you're playing the minor part, it's an E flat. So that's the only difference. When you go to B the first time in the minor chord section, it's an E flat, which is not in the scale. But when you go to the major chord section of the song, well, she wrote me a letter, said she couldn't live without me no more. When you eventually go to B to end that section, there's a B natural note in there, which is in your scale. So there's the whole song, there's only one weird note, E flat. Other than that, everything else is E minor scale / G scale.
When you're developing a lead for this, you'd start by finding the melody notes within that, and then
Yeah, every song you play, start with the melody note first. And this is going to get really easy at first. Now you're doing a tedious process where you're going one note at a time, and you're having to think, listen, and play. But that's good because that's the scales are training your ears to hear these intervals. Even if you don't remember the names of them, you'll just naturally go to those notes. And over time, if you do this enough, you'll just grab your banjo and you'll hear a song and you'll say, sounds like it's an E minor, and your brain will automatically start plugging in the numbers.
can you can you so I learned to play the pentatonic scale shapes
Right.
from the chord shapes from your videos.
Right.
Can you walk me through again these fuller scales from the different shapes? We did the D shape, and we did I guess a bar shape really, but if you could walk me through them again in this video, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So you want to do like, all right, let's do G pentatonic here out of this D shape. What we're going to kick out, pentatonic is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. So we're just going to kick out C and F sharp. But I want to stay as close to the shape as I can. So I'm going to use that same A note we used for.
No, what I was going to say is the pentatonics I understand pretty well.
Right.
It's what you're showing me today, where there's a couple more notes in there and how to get them.
Ah, the full. Okay. Well, let's add the C and F sharp then.
Okay.
This is going to look a lot like the E minor scale.
Right.
All right. So there, we'll start with A because that's the closest one on the 4 string. So there's A. B is 2 frets higher. C would be your pinky.
Okay.
At 10. Then D is on the 3rd string. E is 2 frets higher. F sharp would be on the 2nd.
Can you use your pointer for that?
Yep, probably. I'll be using my index for that. And then I put my middle there for G.
Okay.
And then I go A, B, C with pointer, ring, pinky. Now, if you think about it, these are the same notes we just used for the letter. The only difference is we're centering it on G now. If you play an open 3rd there, it just so happens because of the way your banjo's tuned, you could play an open 3rd and then go 4th string.
Gotcha.
Doesn't work that way for most other keys, except maybe D, key of B. But now you can start with the 3rd. It's all contained right there. Now go to your bar chord.
Okay.
And we'll start out of order because I want to always start with the lowest note I can find. So I'm going to start with this D note, 4th string, and then E.
With your ring, right? E with your ring?
Yep. Probably ring or pinky. Yeah, I do ring most of the time. Then I'm going to backtrack, use my index for that F sharp. G is middle. A would be pinky. Or you could use your ring.
Gotcha.
Fingerings are optional. All right, now we need a B, so that's naturally the 12th fret. Now we need a C and a D and an E and an F sharp and a G. If you want to complete this, you'd have to go all the way to 17. Yeah. Now you can always backtrack too. You can always go behind the bar chord, which is another way you can play it. You could go all the way back here to the 2nd string. Your A note would be the 2nd string at 10, and you're leading yourself back to a bar chord. And then you can go to the 1st string at 10, and that's a C, and there's your B. But once you get on the 1st string, you're stuck anyway. Yeah. So what we're trying to do, you just figure out how far in front of the bar chord you want to play to get your notes, and how far do you want to dip behind it. But either way you go, the destination is always the bar. Now, another thing you can do is once you get the G scale here and the G scale here,
Yeah.
connect them.
Okay.
So and this is, you can come up with dozens of ways of doing this. What you want to do is you decide how long do I want to stay on one string before I go to the next string, to tie the two positions together. You could start with, the fourth string at 7. There's A, B, C. Then you could go all the way to D. You could stay on the fourth string to the 12th fret, and that would put you at the bar chord. All right, and then you got, okay, there's a D. You could go to E on the third at 9, and then you could go F sharp at 11 on the third, and there's a G, and then you got an A, and you could do a B, a C, a D. And what it does, it gives you a bunch of creative ways to play the G scale across two positions.
I got you.
You'll have that entire section of the fingerboard completely memorized. Anytime you want to play a note, you won't know what note you're going to hit. Sometimes your brain will just say, I need an A note. You don't know which A you're going to hit. You'll just grab it and go, I used to do that. I would just sit there and just see how many ways I could come up with to play a G scale across these two positions just as creatively as I could. Now, the same notes up, it takes you a little while to work it out. And this is invaluable. Not so much, it helps your fingering, obviously, it strengthens your left hand, makes you use all your fingers. But I think the big payoff here is it's training you to hear scale notes, which are the notes of the melodies you're trying to play. There's nothing in the universe for this. And if you call out the names of the notes while you play them, even though it's not necessary to name notes, I think that's good too, because then you'll hear an A note and your brain will just say, A, that sounds like an A. Or that's a, after a while you get where you can, if somebody asks you, hey, give me a B note over there, you'd be able
to
play a B note anywhere on the banjo, And chord shapes are great for that. Chord shapes will help you find the notes quickly. And then do the same thing for E minor. Play the E minor scale, which is going to be very, very similar. It's actually the same thing we just played, just starts, the target note is an E. So even if you start with that A note again, the target is E, because that's the ending note for the whole pattern. So you've already learned E minor and G right there. You learn G across those two positions, but you also have E minor across two positions, because it's E minor and G, the same scale, just different target notes. It's amazing what you'll do with this, and anytime you hear a song, your brain will just go, that's your alphabet. Your brain will go right to that, and you'll start hearing songs when you're playing this. It won't just be the letter; it'll be other tunes. You'll just be goofing around with the E minor scale, and all of a sudden, oh, that sounds like this. That sounds like that. And you make up your own tunes. And it's also great for this hand. Which that's the only thing, if I had to say, like, how this would help clawhammer players. Is clawhammer players a lot of times, like traditional, like old time music, clawhammer players, they don't play chords much, and they play a lot of melodies with one finger on one string, and they're great at it. But when it comes time to do what you're doing there, they're sorely lacking in that skill, because they don't ever have to do that, or they don't make themselves do it, because hey, I just play one string, and that's cool. But if you get into melodic clawhammer, then you'll see those guys doing a lot more advanced things.
Is that kind of where we're going here with the scale work?
Yeah, because, because you're playing things like the letter and whatever else you want to play. You're not wanting to play Sally Ann all the time like an all-time player. You're gonna need this kind of stuff because these songs, these chord progressions are way outside the box for traditional clawhammer music.
Right.
If you just wanted to play traditional clawhammer stuff, we wouldn't have to fool with any chords at all, hardly. Just play. But I think scales are universally great for everybody, but application might change depending on what kind of music you're playing. But if you're playing stuff like this on the banjo, you need pretty serious dose of chords and theory. So, of course, it's up to you how much of a chord you want to hear in there, but you'll find it's going to be really valuable. It's going to make your playing sound better, and you'll be able to find the notes of the songs. And if you want a chord in there, you can put it in there, so you're not limiting yourself to playing one note on one string all the time.
Yeah, I think that's like I can do. That's where I'm kind of stuck at is. So everything I've done is up until this point, or up until let's say a year ago when I saw your stuff on scales, was based on chords.
Yeah.
Like, and so that letter video I showed you was all based on chords and then just picking different notes, pull off some things from the chords.
Yeah.
And then when I started doing scales, it feels like these kind of one note, bing, 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 bing,
Yeah. Well, but if you think about it, what is a chord? It's 3 notes out of a scale together.
Yeah.
So that's why the melody people say, "Oh, isn't it convenient that you can play?" How you can find them sitting right in chords? I'm like,
yeah,
it's not coincidence. It's just those chords are shadowing. Chords are like backdrops for the melody, but they're both made of the same thing. So it's like cake. The icing is the melody, or the cake is the melody, and the icing is the chords. They have to be right on top of each other, So it's not coincidence that these guys, like these jazz tenor players, can play these elaborate melodies while playing chords at the same time, because it's all the same thing. You just pick a chord that has the notes that you need in them and just pick those single notes out of the chord, emphasize them, and then go to the next position, next chord shape that has the notes in it, and you build these. You get harmony and melody at the same time, which I think is cool. But even if you didn't want to go that far, the chord shapes will still give you most of the melody notes you need. Those scale notes you need are sitting inside, because 3 of those notes are scale notes.
right.
And the payoff's going to be big as you do this, and the better you get at. And then if you want to make this challenging, the cool thing about this is because it's based on shapes. If you wanted to say, what if I wanted to do the letter in the key of A?
Right.
Move everything up 2 frets. Bam. There's A. And it's. And in A, you think about the key of A, F sharp minor would be your relative scale, your minor scale.
Right.
So you would play the letter in the key of A like that. F sharp minor would be take it, the ticket for an airplane. Ain't got time for a fast train.
Right.
Lonely days are gone. I'm going home, my baby. And you have D flat would be your.
Yeah, I get that.
Right. So it's applicable to every other key. So you can just move this position around and play all 12 major and all 12 minor keys.
Right.
Like that. So it's powerful, so. And whatever chord shapes you use for rhythm, if you just play chords, they repeat. Everything repeats, so it's awesome. So you can, you don't even have to even know the names of the chords you're playing in there. You're just based on shapes, but you probably want to know them. I would. So you can play any key you want like this, and you don't need a capo for it, And eventually, like I said, if you do it long enough, and it'll take you a while, you'll have to intentionally practice this, you'll just start noticing that you're not thinking as much as you go. Your fingers just magically go to those spots when you need it. When your brain says, I need this note, you got it. You just hear it. hear the change in intervals. It goes up, it goes down. Oh, I need to go this high, I need to go this low. And your brain will just know it. And for your left hand, there's nothing better than scales. I use scales to warm myself up, like before a performance or something. I'll just sit backstage and just play scales up and down the neck, just get my fingers lined up, get my brain kind of tuned up for playing. I find they're really good for that too. But try it all over the neck. Move this around. You know, we just did a bar and a D shape, but you could play the F shape. The E minor is built into the F shape.
Can you walk me through the F shape one?
Yep. Okay, so here's your. This is a little harder because it's a spread out shape. There's your G.
Right.
Okay. Now for A, you could go up 2 frets on that string, or you could go backtrack. You could go to the 3rd string at 2, and then you could go up to the 3rd string for B at 4, which is already in the chord. Choose the fingering you want. C would be 1 fret higher at 5. D would be open first, but we want to stay in the shape here, so I'm going to go to the 2nd string, which is in the shape.
Yeah.
All right, E is 5, and then F sharp, G.
I guess for E, you're probably using your ring finger, F sharp, and you're using your middle.
Yeah, yeah. But if you want to use your pinky, you could, because the pinky is the string you use to hold that note in the chord. So if you want to try to get creative, you can. To get better at using your pinky, you can make yourself use it a lot more than you normally would. You could use the pinky there if you want to. I used to do that too. I used to sit around and try to make myself use unusual fingerings, like especially the pinky and the ring, to get them used to, you know, doing stuff. Like I'll fret the 4th string with the pinky. So that's G major sitting in and around the shape. If you want to go lower, you could go open 4. You could go modally. All right, then E minor, of course, would just be starting on an E, so you could go all the way down here if you wanted to. If you wanted to call that part of the group, that would be D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E.
Yeah, I got it.
Now make an E minor chord when you get to the end of that. That way you can resolve it to something that sounds like it. There's E
Yeah. I think Don, that this stuff is definitely what I need to do, and then but you're talking about resolving stuff, and I get what you're saying, but I think as we get farther down the road, that kind of like know-how how to do that, that's what I'm really lacking too, you know?
Yeah, well, you know, music's all about tension and resolution. So when you're doing this, unknowingly or not, as soon as you start walking through the scale, listeners' ears are going, where is he going with this? What is this? You know, they can kind of hear the notes and go, oh, that's nice, but what's this going to be? And what you do is you resolve it for them. So if I intend this to be an E minor sounding scale over an E minor chord, that's the advantage of walking these scales and then throwing a chord in there. You instantly, your brain goes, oh, I hear where that's going. You know, like when the B chord comes up in the letter, you might still be playing some E minor scale notes, but until you play the B note, the B chord, people don't exactly, they still think you might be an E minor, you know, so you got to go, my baby, she wrote me over. As soon as you play that B chord, instantly, you know, that's where that pattern went.
Yeah.
So that's all resolution is. So you can take each section of the melody and say, okay, what am I playing over E minor? Give me a ticket for an airplane. Airplane. The word plane would be C. What notes do you play over that? Just one. Airplane. Just
Right.
one note. E. Da 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 da. That's over. Na 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 na. And then da. And when it goes to A, there's only one note. E. Lonely days are gone. That's E minor. Lonely days are gone. C. I'm a coming home. My baby. There's my baby. There's your B chord.
Yeah.
My baby. She wrote me a letter. Back to E. So what you do is you section the melody. These notes are played over the E minor. These notes are played over C. These notes are played over D. Those notes
Right.
are played whatever. But every note that you play over all the chords are all E minor scale notes,
Except that one note.
except that one E flat note. And then when you go to G, obviously it's the same notes because G and E minor are the same scale. They just
Right.
they resolve differently. Then you resolve everything to a G. Well, she wrote me a letter saying you couldn't live without me no more. C and D are in both parts of the song, but the center note, the note that really changes the sound of the tune, is you're now centering everything on G major, not E. That's why chords are powerful too for resolution. So you can be playing a scale pattern on the neck and kind of get lost and go, oh, wait a minute, where am I at in the song? Because I'm playing a scale pattern.
Right.
Just flop a chord in there, and you're like, oh, okay, now that's the C part. Oh,
Right.
that's the C. And you never get lost. And when people are listening to you, I'll do this. If I was playing the letter by myself for somebody, and I didn't have a guitar player or something, I put a lot of chords in there so people would know
Right.
where I'm at, because they might lose it just hearing notes. People are not, unless they're musicians, their ear's not quite as good as ours at figuring out where you at. What is this? You know. But if I go, they go, oh, the ladder. You know. So the chords are pretty powerful, I think. And the reason that old time players can get by with not doing that is they've got a rhythm guitar player
Right. Right.
pounding out, and a bass player pounding out the rhythm for them. You know, it's like, hey, you know, you can just hear the guitar player usually, and you can figure out what the song is from the chords.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Before you can the picking. You know, so chords are pretty valuable for that. So whenever you're playing these scale notes, just stop at some point. And go, okay, let me superimpose the right chord over that section, and then you'll start resolving stuff. You'll be, oh, okay, I know where I'm at now. As soon as you play the chords, your brain just automatically
Right.
builds the melody right over it because it needs it. You take some other songs, take some other minor chord songs. I mean, you got the letter going, but pick something else that's like a minor tune, you know, and see if you can figure out what the chords are. If you have to
Okay.
look the chords up on the internet or something, get the chords down, and you'll see how the chords and the melody just lay over each other. They're stacked all over the fingerboard, right on top of each other, you know. And like I said, the big payoff is not just the letter; it's every song you'll ever do. I mean, and people do this naturally. A lot of people don't think they know theory. They're really good players, and they can pick out a tune on the banjo. They can hear it 1-2 times and just start picking it out. And I'll say, oh, you've got a really good ear for scales. They're like, I've never practiced scales, John. I don't know anything about them. I'm like, no, you're playing it right now. You just don't know you are. You know,
Right.
they're really good at finding these songs. They can play the letter like gangbusters, hearing it one time, and they'll tell me they've never practiced the E minor scale, but I'm like, you've played a lot of E minor songs,
Right.
and by default, you've hunted and used the hunt and peck method. You know, you've made a lot of mistakes, and through years and years and years of trial and error, eventually your brain assimilated the notes, but they still don't know that it's a scale. You know, if you practice these scales, you circumvent about 10, 15 years of making a bunch of bad note choices. You know, you eventually figure it out, but this is a lot faster way, and it's a surefire way because you won't make any mistakes this way. You'll know the notes are right. So, so people say, well, that's why I don't need theory, because I'll eventually. I'm like, well, yeah, but why would you want to screw around for 10 years?
Right.
When you can learn it in a year? Yeah, because it's not that hard. I mean, you're sucking it up like a sponge, you know. And again, try to tie them together all over the neck. So you get one position worked out in all like 3 different positions, which is all we're talking about. Merge them together and work between them, and you'll find all these keys to get between the scales, and you'll have total command of the fingerboard.
Okay. I'll work on that, and I will post something. I'll send you a video or something, but I'll work on with the G chord. I'll do the different positions and try to link them and just.
Yeah, and you can take the pentatonic thing too and apply it to the minor.
Yeah.
You know, E minor pentatonic is the same as G pentatonic. It just starts on E. There'll be no C and no F sharp in that one either.
Yeah, and I'm okay at the pentatonics to know where they are and to combine them. Okay, you know.
Good.
But not with the full scales, and so that's
right.
what I'm on.
Right, and you'll need both. Like you'll encounter tunes where it's just pentatonic and you only need the 5, and then there'll be songs where you might need the C and the F sharp. You know, so you'll be able to switch. You'll be able to tell a song that's pentatonic after a while. Your brain will start picking up, oh, I don't need those notes. And you'll go pentatonic. Then you'll start hearing them. Well, this song has those 2. I need the full scale to play this tune. You know, like Christmas songs. Christmas is coming up. That's the full G scale turned into joy to the world, the Lord is come.
Right.
Let earth that's the full G scale turned into a tune, not pentatonic. But folk songs and rock songs and blues songs tend to be more pentatonic, you know, but not always. Sometimes they'll be, you know. And if you look at like the letter, there is an F sharp in there. You've actually got a C. So there's an F sharp and a C in there, but still, even though they're in there, if you counted how many notes, if you made a tally letter, how many, like write down each scale note, how many times it's repeated, C and F sharp are still like less than 10% of this C and F sharp. It's more pentatonic than it is major. But see, if you only practice pentatonic scales and you didn't know G major or E, you know, you'd be hard pressed to find those 2 notes that you're hearing. So there's value in both of them, but you'll find that once you get the letter going, that C and F sharp are like, there ain't much. It's more pentatonic than it is. But you know how to find them all now, so you're good.
Great.
Cool, man.
This is fantastic. And I just want to double check to make sure I sent you a PayPal for the 2 weeks so far. That you got it?
Yep, I got that. Yep,
I
got it. We're good. See you in a couple.
Yeah, thanks so much, John. Talk to you later.
Man. All right, have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too.